Welcome back to the deep dive. Or as I've been calling it all week while prepping for this one, welcome to the funeral channel.
It does feel a bit like that, doesn't it?
It really does. Look, usually we're talking about AI supply chains or the future of synthetic biology, but today, we are going 6 feet under.
Uh-huh.
Or, as we're going to find out, maybe not 6 feet under at all.
Right. We might be going into a high-rise tower or, into a coral reef.
Or a server farm, which is a whole other thing we have to get into.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, so let's set the scene. It is 2026, and I want everyone listening to do a quick mental check. When I say the word funeral, what image pops into your head? I'm guessing it's a hearse. I'm guessing it's a lot of black wool suits. I'm guessing it's a room that smells like lilies and like old carpet.
Yeah, and some organ music playing in the background that makes you want to cry even if you didn't know the person.
Right. It's the standard model, the Victorian model, really.
It is. It's been locked in for over a century.
Exactly. But the stack of sources we are diving into today, and it is a massive stack, suggests that this mental image is expiring. We are living through a historical disruption in the way we deal with death.
I think that's right.
Maybe the biggest shift since the 19th century when mortuary science decided to call itself a profession and put everyone in suits.
It is a fascinating moment to be looking at this industry because you have this perfect storm. You have technology crashing into tradition. You have deep ecological anxiety changing what we want to do with our physical bodies. And then you have this massive cultural vibe shift where we are actually starting to talk about grief instead of just, repressing it.
It's moving from something hidden, something institutional, to something, well, kind of weirdly exciting. Is that okay to say?
I think that's exactly what the sources are saying. It's moving from a burden to an experience, from an obligation to an expression.
To kick this off, I want to go back a few years. One of our sources points to a specific pop culture moment as a sort of signal flare that the vibes were changing. Do you remember the Barbie movie?
The 2023 film.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Big one.
Okay, so picture it. You've got the dream house, you've got the pink convertible, you have this perfectly plastic, choreographed dance party happening.
Total perfection.
And then, screeching halt, Barbie asks the question.
Do you guys ever think about dying?
Do you guys ever think about dying? It was such a jarring moment in the theater. I remember people laughing, but it was that nervous laughter,
It was brilliant. And the sources argue that wasn't just a throwaway joke. It was a cultural temperature check.
Right.
It signaled that for Gen Z and millennials, discussing death was becoming less taboo. It was bleeding into the mainstream conversation.
It's like we all collectively decided, okay, we can't ignore this anymore.
Yeah.
So the mission for this deep dive is pretty specific. We want to explore how death care, which, by the way, is the industry term, and I still can't decide if I like it or hate it.
It's very clinical.
A little cold. Very. But we want to see how death care has transformed from a static, gloomy, one-size-fits-all obligation into something that is dynamic, eco-conscious, honestly, pretty high-tech.
And we have a really interesting mix of sources to help us do that today. We aren't just reading op-eds. We have industry trend reports from the giants like Dignity Memorial. So we're seeing what the big corporations are doing.
The establishment view.
Exactly. Then we have insights from the disruptors, the eco-funeral advocates like Wildflower Funeral Concepts. We're looking at digital memorial experts like Forever Candle.
And then there's the heavy hitter?
The academic paper, The Transfiguration of Mortality.
That sounds like a spell from Harry Potter.
It's dense, but it's crucial. It gives us the sociological data behind the trends. It explains why we are changing, not just what we are changing.
Okay, let's get into it. I want to start with the fundamental shift in the business model because this really sets the table for everything else.
It's the foundation.
If I walked into a funeral home 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, and said, my uncle died, help me out, what happened?
You were handed a price list, but really you were sold a package, the traditional full-service package.
The combo meal.
Essentially, yes. And it was a rigid script. It included the transfer of remains, embalming, that was almost non-negotiable in the sales pitch.
They really pushed that, huh?
Oh, yeah. Then a viewing or visitation the night before, a formal service at the church or the funeral home chapel, a procession with the hearse and the limos, and finally the committal service at the cemetery.
And you paid one big price for the whole shebang.
Right. It was a bundled product. And for a long time, people just paid it because, well, what else were you going to do?
You're in a vulnerable state.
You're grieving, you're exhausted, and you just want someone to tell you what the right thing to do is.
But 2026 is different.
Completely different. The core shift today is unbundling. The sources describe a move from a package mindset to a menu mindset.
A la carte death.
Exactly. Families are walking in, looking at that list of services and saying, we don't want A, we definitely don't want B, we don't need the hearse, we don't need the embalming, we just want D.
And D is usually what?
Disposition. Just the physical handling of the body.
This is the direct cremation trend I keep hearing about.
That's a huge part of it. The sources highlight this shift. They note that families are separating the disposition from the ceremony. They're two totally different events now.
Right.
So you might choose a direct cremation immediately after death because it's cost effective. We're talking a few $1,000s versus $10,000 or $15,000.
Big difference.
It's a huge difference. But then the memorial service, that happens 3 months later.
Or 6 months later, or on the deceased's birthday.
Right. And because it's unbundled, it doesn't have to happen at the funeral home. It happens at a brewery. It happens at a park. It happens at a favorite restaurant. The two things, the body and the party, aren't tethered anymore.
Which gives you way more control. But, and I want to push back on this a little bit, doesn't that put a massive burden on the family? If there's no standard script, if there's no package, don't you have to basically become an event planner while you're grieving?
That is the double-edged sword. You have total freedom, but you also have the paralysis of choice. When you can do anything, what should you do?
Right. Like, if I don't hire the hearse, does that mean I don't love Dad? Is that the subtext?
Exactly. That's the anxiety. But what we are finding, and what the Wildflower Funeral Concept source argues, is that people are actually finding more meaning in the planning.
How so?
Because they aren't just following a rote checklist. They are forced to think, what would he have actually wanted? Not what does tradition dictate?
That makes sense. It forces a more personal conversation.
And that brings us to the first major section of our deep dive, the vibe shift.
The vibe shift. I love this because we are moving from somber to, well, celebratory.
And it starts with reimagining the venue.
Let's talk about the physical space. Because the stereotype of the funeral home is strong, it's dark, it's quiet, it's got that heavy floral wallpaper.
It's designed to be a sensory deprivation tank for grief.
That is the perfect description. And now,
the sources say 2026 is the era of the community space. Modern funeral homes are terrified of being empty 300 days a year.
good point. It's bad for business.
It's terrible for business. So they are rebranding. They are hosting art shows. They are hosting concerts.
Wait, art shows in a funeral home?
Yes. Local artists hanging paintings in the lobby.
I mean, is that weird? Do you want to look at a landscape painting while someone is wheeling a casket down the hall?
Well, they manage the logistics so those things don't literally collide. But the idea is to destigmatize the building. If you only enter that building when your world is falling apart, the building itself becomes a trigger. But if you went there last week for a poetry reading or jazz concert, then it's just a place in your community.
Wildflower Funeral Concepts mentioned something that made me do a double take. Yoga classes.
Yoga classes.
You're in Savasana Corpse pose literally in a funeral home. That feels a little on the nose, doesn't it?
It does. But think about the philosophy. It's about wellness. It's about the body. It's about acceptance. If you want to integrate death into life, you have to bring life into the death space.
I guess that makes sense. It just feels like a very sharp pivot from, hushed tones and organ music.
It's a huge pivot. And Dignity Memorial, and remember, this is a corporate giant, not some niche hipster startup. They note that some funeral homes have literally renamed themselves Celebration of Life Centers.
They dropped the word funeral entirely.
In some cases, yes. They are designing these spaces with light, airy, contemporary aesthetics. We're talking stylights. We're talking aromatherapy.
So it smells different.
It smells like eucalyptus and lavender, not formaldehyde and lilies. And they're replacing those rigid rows of pews.
God, the pews, they are so uncomfortable.
They are. And they enforce a hierarchy. The family sits in the front. Everyone else stares in the back of their heads. It's passive.
Right.
The new model uses seating groups, couches, round tables with coffee service.
So it looks like a hotel lobby.
Or a nice wedding venue. It's designed to encourage conversation. The idea is that you shouldn't just sit there and listen to a clergyman talk. You should be sharing stories with the person next to you.
It sounds nicer. I admit, it sounds nicer. But there's a trend here that goes beyond just the furniture. And this is one that really blew my mind. The living funeral.
This is a powerful one.
Explain this concept, because to a traditionalist, this sounds backward.
The source from Dignity Memorial calls it a living wake or a reminiscing party. The premise is simple. You throw the funeral before you die.
Okay, so walk me through the scenario. I'm sick.
Usually, yes. This is most common for people with a terminal diagnosis. You know the timeline, you know the end is coming in maybe a few months or weeks, and you make a decision. Why should everyone wait until I'm gone to say all the nice things?
That is the classic tragedy of funerals, isn't it? You get the best eulogies, the most love, the most incredible stories told about you, and you are the only person in the room who can't hear them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you flip the script,
Yeah.
you invite everyone, you cater it.
Is it sad? I mean, is it just a room full of people crying?
It's complex. The sources describe these events as having an incredibly intense atmosphere. There is a DJ, there is a dance floor, there is laughter, but there's also this profound, heavy reality hanging over the room.
Yeah.
Everyone knows why they were there.
It sounds exhausting emotionally, like you're saying goodbye, but you're also passing hors d'oeuvre.
It is. But the takeaway for the people who do this is that it offers a level of closure that a traditional funeral never can. You get to thank people, you get to settle grudges, you get to hug people one last time.
It changes the focus.
It flips the saying, funerals are for the living, on its head. In this case, the funeral is for the person being honored while they are still here to participate.
It's the ultimate act of agency. You are directing your own exit scene. And that feeds into this broader trend of personalization. The menu mindset we talked about earlier, it's getting hyper-specific.
We've moved way beyond standard hymn A or standard hymn B. We are seeing specific dress codes.
Like what?
Please wear the deceased's favorite color, or please wear a jersey from their favorite sports team. One source mentioned a funeral for a huge football fan, where everyone wore team colors. It looked like a tailgate party.
That's amazing. I saw a mention of paddle-out ceremonies.
For surfers, you take the ashes, everyone gets on their boards, you paddle out past the break, form a circle, and scatter the ashes in the ocean. It's spiritual, but it's not religious. It's about their element.
And dogs. Can we talk about the dogs?
Yes, including pets in the service. If you were a dog trainer or just a dog lover, why shouldn't your golden retriever be in the front row?
I love that. I honestly do. But I want to pivot back to something small. Because amidst all these DJs and surfboards, one of our sources points out something really interesting about the old school funeral program.
Ah, the little pamphlet.
Right, the little folded pamphlet with the blurry photo on the front. You'd think in 2026, with everything being digital, those would be gone. Just send a PDF, right?
You would think. But the source argues they're becoming more important. They call them portable rituals.
Portable rituals. Unpack that.
Think about it. If you strip away the church, if you strip away the pews and the stained glass and the organ, if you were standing in a park or a backyard,
Right.
what makes it a funeral and not just a barbecue?
The mood.
But you need a prop. You need an artifact. The printed program becomes the thing that grounds the event. It's something to hold in your hands. It says, this is a significant moment.
It's a souvenir of the grief.
Exactly. It's a keepsake. People put them in Bibles, they put them in memory boxes. In a world where everything is on a screen, having that physical piece of paper that says, in loving memory, carries a new kind of weight.
That makes total sense. We still need something to hold on to. Okay, so we've got the vibe shift. More parties, less gloom, more dogs.
A lot to like there.
But there is another massive driver of change here. And honestly, this is the part that I think will surprise people the most. It's the technology of the body itself.
The ecological imperative.
Right, because we all want to go green, but we usually think about recycling bottles or driving an EV. We don't think about, well, ourselves.
You don't. But we need to. This is the green death care movement. And to understand why it's exploding, you have to look at the environmental cost of the traditional method.
Hit me with the numbers. I know the academic source, the Transfiguration of Mortality, had some data that made my jaw drop.
It's staggering. Let's look at traditional burial in the U.S. every single year. We bury 1.6 million tons of concrete.
1.6 million tons. That number is hard to even process.
Okay, try this. That is enough to build a 2-lane highway from New York to Detroit.
Wow.
We are literally caving the underground.
That is a wild image. We are building a highway for the dead.
And it doesn't stop there. 64,500 tons of steel. That's caskets. That's vaults. And here is the one that really gets people. 4 million gallons of embalming fluid.
Which is what, exactly? Poison.
It's a cocktail.
Oh.
But mostly formaldehyde, phenol, and methanol. It is a known carcinogen. And we are pumping 4 million gallons of it into the soil every year.
So we are essentially burying toxic waste and wrapping it in concrete.
From an ecological perspective, yes. That is exactly what we're doing, and that is driving the listener's dilemma. People are looking at their carbon footprint in life and asking, why would I ruin it all in death? What is the ecological impact of my final act?
So let's talk solutions, because the sources list some technologies that sound like science fiction, but they are happening right now, legal, available. First up, aquamation.
Aquamation. The technical term is alkaline hydrolysis, but you'll hear it called water cremation.
Okay, I have to play the skeptic here. Water cremation sounds like a contradiction in terms. How does it work?
Imagine a large stainless steel cylinder. It looks a bit like a futuristic MRI machine or a very high-tech pressure cooker.
Okay, visualizing it.
The body is placed inside. Then the vessel is filled with the solution. It's roughly 95% water and 5% alkaline chemicals, usually potassium hydroxide.
So it's a base, not an acid.
Correct. It's the opposite of acid.
Right.
The solution is heated, not boiling, but hot and gently agitated.
Like a washing machine.
A very, very slow, gentle cycle. It's more of a flow.
And what happens?
It mimics the natural decomposition process. If you were buried in the soil, microbes in alkaline soil would break your body down over decades. This machine accelerates that process into a few hours.
A few hours?
Yeah, about 4 to 6 hours. The water breaks the chemical bonds of the body. It reduces you to your building blocks, salts, sugars, amino acids.
And at the end, what's left?
Two things. First, the bone shadows. Just like in flame cremation, the calcium phosphate, the bone mineral survives. Those are dried and processed into a powder, so the family still gets ashes.
Do they look the same?
They look exactly the same as flame ashes, actually a bit whiter and finer.
And the second thing,
A liquid.
this is the part where people get squeamish.
It is. The liquid is a sterile solution of amino acids and sugars. There was no DNA left. There are no pathogens. It is completely sterile. Sometimes it's described as looking like tea or coffee.
Where does it go?
It goes into the municipal water treatment system.
It goes down the drain.
It does, and I know, that triggers a yuck response.
Yeah.
But you have to compare it to the alternative. Flame cremation sends all that carbon and particulate matter into the air. Embalming puts it into the groundwater.
So it's treated like any other organic waste.
Exactly. The water treatment plant sees it as no different from other biological effluent.
Is it actually better for the planet, though? Or is it just different?
It's significantly better. Aquamation uses about 90% less energy than flame cremation, no natural gas burning. And critically, and this is a big one, there are 0 mercury emissions.
Mercury? From where?
Your teeth.
Oh.
Right. Fillings.
If you have silver amalgam fillings, they contain mercury. When a body is cremated by flame, that mercury vaporizes. It goes right into the atmosphere. It's a significant source of mercury pollution.
Aquamation neutralizes it. The mercury stays in the machine and can be recycled.
That is a specific detail I never would have thought of. Okay, so that's the water option. Then there is the earth option, human composting.
Natural organic reduction, or NOR. This is for the people who want to return to the earth in the most literal sense possible.
This one fascinates me, but it also feels the most primal.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through the process. How do you compost a person?
You start with a vessel. In some facilities, these look like white honeycomb pods stacked on top of each other. In others, they look like large steel drawers.
Okay.
The body is placed inside, wrapped in a shroud, and then it is covered packed really with organic material. Wood chips, alfalfa, straw.
It's a recipe?
It is a recipe for soil. The ratio of carbon to nitrogen has to be perfect. Once the vessel is closed, oxygen is pumped in. This kickstarts the microbes that are naturally on our skin and in our gut.
So the microbes do the work.
The microbes go into overdrive. This microbial action generates heat. It gets hot in there up to 130, 150, even 160 degrees Fahrenheit.
Just from the bacteria. No external heat source.
Just from the biology. That heat is crucial because it kills pathogens. It sterilizes the compost.
And how long does it take?
The sources vary slightly. Dignity Memorial mentions about 45 days. The academic source says 8 to 12 weeks for the full curing process. But at the end of it, there is no body. There are no bones.
Even the bones. How do the bones break down?
Even the bones. The combination of microbial action, heat, and the slight acidity they create breaks down the calcium phosphate. Anything that doesn't, like maybe a hip replacement, is screened out at the end.
And what are you left with?
Soil. Nutrient-rich, dark, loamy soil.
How much soil?
About 1 cubic yard.
Visualize that for me.
That is a pickup truck bed filled to the brim. It's roughly 300 to 400 pounds of soil.
Wow. Okay, so with cremation, you get a little urn. You can put it on the mantle. With this, you get a truckload. What do families do with a cubic yard of dad?
That is the logistical challenge. Most families don't take it all. They might take a few bags to plant a tree in the backyard or start a rose garden. The rest is often donated to conservation land.
Really?
Yeah, the facilities partner with land trusts to use the soil for reforestation or restoring damaged ecosystems.
You literally become a forest.
Become a forest. It's a beautiful loop.
It is beautiful. But is it legal? Can I do this in Ohio? Can I do this in Texas?
Not everywhere. And that leads to a weird trend mentioned in the sources, death tourism.
Death tourism. That sounds morbid.
It is a strange term, but it's what's happening. Since it's only legal in about 14 states right now, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, New York, a few others, people are actually transporting remains across state lines.
So you die in a state where it's illegal.
And the family drives the body to Washington to have it composted.
That is dedication. But I guess if that's your final wish, you make it happen.
You do.
Okay, we have water, we have earth. What about the ocean?
Marine alternatives. This is for the ocean lovers. The source mentions reef balls.
Reef balls. I'm picturing a beach ball, but I know that's not it.
Picture a giant, hollow concrete dome with holes in it. It looks like a massive piece of Swiss cheese made of cement.
Okay.
Companies like Eternal Reefs take cremated remains, the ashes, and mix them into marine-grade, pH-neutral concrete. They cast these structures.
Can they drop them in the ocean?
They do. They place them on the seafloor. And because of the shape and the texture, they attract coral larvae, they attract fish, they become a permanent artificial reef.
So you aren't just scattering ashes that wash away, you are building a condo for fish.
Exactly. You're restoring a habitat.
Yeah.
They come in different sizes, from the 500-pound Aquarius to the massive 4,000-pound Mariner Reef.
4,000 pounds. That's a legacy.
It is. And the argument is that it offsets the carbon cost of the cremation by creating a permanent biological benefit for the ocean.
It's amazing how much innovation is happening in the physical realm, but we can't talk about 2026 without talking about the digital realm.
Yep.
Because we live online. It makes sense we would die online, too.
The digital ritual age, that's what the academic source calls it. Technology isn't just an add-on anymore. It's the standard operating system for death.
We're not just talking about a guest book on a website anymore, are we?
Far from it. Online memorials have become dynamic hubs. We are seeing AI-curated memory timelines.
How does that work?
Imagine an algorithm that scrapes your photos, your emails, your location data, and builds a narrative history of your life automatically. It finds pictures from a trip and pulls an email you sent about it and puts them together.
Wow.
And crowdsource storytelling, where friends from different parts of your life, your college buddy, your work friend, your cousin, upload videos that get stitched together into a documentary.
It keeps the memory active. But here is where it gets, well, let's say Black Mirror-ish. The rise of death tech and AI.
The digital twin. This is the controversial frontier.
Explain this to me. Are we talking about bringing people back to life digitally?
In a sense, the technology exists to create AI avatars of the deceased. You feed the AI their social media history, their emails, hours voice recordings.
So it learns how they talk.
It learns their speech patterns, it learns their idioms, it learns their jokes, it learns their memories, it learns their cadence, their vocal tics.
So I could chat with my deceased grandfather. I could open an app and ask, "Hey, Grandpa, what was that story about the war?" And he would answer.
Theoretically, yes, in his voice, using his vocabulary.
That sounds, okay, I'm going to be honest, that sounds incredibly creepy.
It triggers the uncanny valley reflex for a lot of people. It feels wrong.
There must be a but.
But the sources suggest people are using it. There are grief bots, generative AI models like GPT-5 that are fine-tuned for empathetic dialogue.
Does it actually help? Or is it just a crutch that prevents you from moving on?
It is polarizing. But the academic source notes a startling statistic. Specialized grief centers using these bots report a 73% recovery rate for people processing complex trauma.
Wow, 73%? How do they even measure that?
I'm not sure of the exact metric, but the theory is that it allows for a simulated conversation to say the things you didn't get to say. To say, "I forgive you," or "I love you," or "I'm sorry." Even if you know it's a bot, the psychological release is real.
It's catharsis through simulation.
Exactly. But the ethical guardrails are huge. The sources emphasize that there are strict protocols. Only direct family can authorize this.
Right.
You don't want a company resurrecting a celebrity for a commercial without permission.
Or a politician. Imagine an AI version of a dead president endorsing a candidate.
That is the nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
And that's why digital estate planning is becoming such a massive legal field.
Who owns your ghost?
Precisely. We are seeing a clash between the right to be forgotten and digital inheritance.
There was a case about this, right? The Facebook one.
The German Facebook case. It established digital assets as inheritable property. Just like a box of letters under the bed, your Facebook messages, your DMs, your emails, those belong to your heirs.
So my kids inherit my DMs. That is terrifying for different reasons.
It is, which is why we are seeing a rise in legacy management subscriptions.
What is that?
You pay a monthly fee to a service. It's a digital vault. You put in your passwords. You put in instructions. When I die, give the bank password to my wife. Give the photo archive to my daughter. And for the love of God, delete my browser history and burn my Twitter account.
It's the new will, but
Yeah.
for your digital life.
It is essential. You have to have one now.
And we haven't even touched on VR funeral.
Right, the metaverse. This is for geographically dispersed families. It's not just a Zoom call.
What's the difference?
It's a 3D immersive environment. You put on a headset, your avatar is standing in a virtual space, maybe a recreation of your childhood home, or a fantasy garden. You can see your cousin's avatar next to you.
And what do you do in there?
You can light a virtual candle. You can place digital flowers. You can interact with digital memorial objects, like a virtual version of a dad's guitar that plays his favorite song when you touch it.
It's another layer of interaction.
It solves mobility and accessibility issues. The grandmother who can't fly can be there in a meaningful way.
Okay, let's pivot to the business side. Because all of this, the tech, the eco options, it's disrupting the traditional business model of the funeral home. And money changes everything.
The economics are shifting rapidly. For 100 years, the funeral business was the most stable business on earth.
Death and taxes.
Right. And the model was high margin. You sell the casket, huge markup. You sell the embalming. You sell the vault.
And now
You have direct-to-consumer startups. Companies like Tulip or Solace. They operate online. They don't have a fancy building with tillers out front. They don't have a fleet of Cadillacs.
they're the Amazon of death.
Or the Uber. They offer fixed price packages online, direct cremation, $700. Click here. That undercuts the traditional funeral home by thousands of dollars.
That has to be panicking the industry.
It is. And on the back end, you have vertical SaaS software platforms like Plotbox or Gather. They're streamlining the administration. One source says they reduce admin time by nearly 80%.
So the funeral director isn't buried in paperwork anymore.
Hopefully not. And the investors are noticing. There is a death tech boom.
Death tech? I can't believe that's a real sector.
It is. The startup Empathy is a great example. They raised $72 million.
$72 million? For what?
To build an app that combines human guidance with software for estate settlement. Think about the nightmare of administration after someone dies. Closing bank accounts, canceling Netflix, transferring titles, dealing with probate.
It's a full-time job. Horrible one.
Empathy automates it. They hold your hand through the bureaucracy. Investors see that as a massive market because everyone goes through it.
But cost is also a driver for the consumer, right? We talked about direct cremation.
Yes, rising costs are pushing families towards simpler options. But there is a nuance here that one of the sources points out. It's not necessarily that people are cheap. It's about allocation.
What do you mean?
Let's say a family has a budget of $10,000. In the old days, $8,000 of that went to the funeral home for the casket and the hearse and the embalming. Now, they look at that and say, that's a waste. They spend $2,000 on a direct cremation. And they take the other $8,000 and throw an incredible party. They rent a venue. They get great food. They fly in the cousin who couldn't afford the ticket.
It's value engineering. They are prioritizing the experience over the hardware.
Exactly. They're prioritizing the memorial, the gathering over the disposition.
And speaking of cost-effective trends, dividing ashes is mentioned as a big one.
This is a sentimental and economic trend. With cremation, you aren't tied to one spot. One family member can scatter some ashes at a fishing hole. Another keeps some in a piece of jewelry. Another puts some in a keepsake urn.
You literally share the loved one.
It solves disputes, too. If mom wanted to be in Florida and dad wants her in New York, you can do both.
Let's move to section 5, the human element. Because for all the tech, for all the apps, for all the composting, this is still about grief. It's about the worst days of people's lives.
And that's why, paradoxically, as the tech gets better, we are seeing a massive swing back toward the hyperhuman. This is the death positive movement.
Define that for us. Because death positive sounds like you want people to die.
No. It's not pro-death. It's about accepting that death is natural. It's largely led by millennials and Gen Z. It's about reclaiming the grieving process from that institutional silence we talked about.
What is their core beliefs?
The good death. The idea that a death should be meaningful, affordable, and aligned with your personal values. It shouldn't just be what the funeral director told me to do.
And this has given rise to a new role, the death doula.
I love this development. Think of them like a midwife, but for the other end of life.
A midwife for death.
Exactly.
Okay.
A midwife helps a mother navigate the physical, emotional, and spiritual intensity of birth. They aren't the doctor. They are the support. A death doula does the same for the dying and their family.
What does a day in the life of a death doula look like?
They might sit with the dying person and help them write letters to their kids. They might help plan the vigil, what music should be playing, who should be in the room. And crucially, they guide the family through the immediate aftermath.
The minutes after death.
Right. When the death happens, usually there is panic. Call 911. Call the funeral home. The doula says, pause. Slow down. You don't have to call anyone yet. Sit with them.
Take a breath.
Exactly. And part of that is getting the family more involved in the physical process.
Yes. Family participation. This is a return to how we did things for thousands of years. For the last century, we handed the body over to professionals immediately. Take it away. Now, families want to be involved, like washing the body.
Washing and dressing the body, combing their hair, anointing them with oil.
To a modern listener, that might sound confronting, touching the dead body.
It is confronting.
Yeah.
But the sources say it is also incredibly grounding. It helps the brain process the reality of the loss. It's the final act of caretaking. You took care of them in life. You take care of them in death.
I read about shovel rituals, too.
Yes. In traditional burials, usually the family leaves, and then the grounds crew comes in with a backhoe to fill the grave.
It's industrial.
Yeah.
Cold.
It is. Now, some cemeteries are allowing the family to stay. They hand out shovels. The family fills the grave themselves, hand by hand, shovel by shovel.
That is physical labor.
It is exhausting. But again, it provides closure. You are tucking them in. It's a very powerful primal ritual.
It's powerful stuff. And before we move on, we have to talk about inclusivity, because the funeral industry has historically been pretty conservative.
Conservative is a polite way to put it. It has been very traditional, very rigid, very cis and white, frankly.
Right.
But the death-positive movement is also a justice movement.
Transgender rights came up in the sources.
This is a heartbreaking but crucial issue. Trans individuals are often dead-named or misgendered on their death certificates or in obituaries, usually by unaccepting family members or unaware funeral directors.
So their final public record is a lie.
Exactly. There is a massive push now to ensure that the deceased are honored as they lived. Legal protections to ensure the name on the tombstone matches the name they used in life.
And the preservation of black burial grounds.
This is an archaeology of justice. Many historical African-American cemeteries, from the era of enslavement and post-Reconstruction, have been neglected. They've been paved over for highways or parking lots.
Erasing history.
Exactly. There is a national movement now to locate, restore, and protect these sites, to say these people mattered, their stories matter.
It's really about dignity, in every sense.
It is.
Okay, for our final section, we have to zoom out, way out. We have to look at the city. Because the reality is, people keep dying, but cities aren't getting any bigger.
The space crisis.
We are running out of ground.
Especially in places like Hong Kong, London, Singapore, New York.
Right.
If you want a burial plot in Manhattan, well, good luck.
Yeah.
And good luck affording it if you find one.
So what's the solution?
The vertical necropolis.
The skyscraper cemetery.
Precisely. The sources point to the Tihan Tower in Shanghai as the prototype.
Describe this building.
It's a concept that blurs the line between the civic and the sacred. It's a tower. But it's not just for the dead. The lower floors are cafes, co-working spaces, community hubs.
Wait, co-working. I'm sending emails on the second floor, and Grandma is in an urn on the 10th.
That's the idea. The upper floors are designed for biodegradable caskets and urn niches. It uses automated retrieval systems like those high-tech car vending machines.
So you go to a viewing room, tap a screen, and the urn comes to you.
Exactly. But the philosophy is what's interesting. It's about making the cemetery a public sanctuary.
Yeah.
Instead of the cemetery being this spooky, gated place on the edge of town that you visit once a year. It's a vertical park in the city center. You might go there to eat lunch.
It normalizes the presence of the ancestors, makes them part of daily life.
It does. And it integrates green infrastructure.
Rebranding cemeteries as parks.
Singapore is leading this with memory parks. They are integrating ash scattering into flower gardens. There are no heavy tombstones taking up space. It's just a beautiful, lush biodiversity hub,
So the dead are actually helping to cool the city for the living.
combating the urban heat island effect. It's a beautiful symbiosis. You die, and you become part of the lungs of the city.
It feels like we are in a transition from a one-size-fits-all gloom to a choose-your-own-adventure model. We've covered water cremation, human composting, AI ghosts, reef balls, and vertical towers.
It's a hybrid future. That's the key takeaway for me. It's not that everyone is going to become a tree or upload their brain to the cloud. It's that for the first time in history, you have the choice.
It's high-tech VR and AI blended with high-touch death doulas and watching the body.
It's deeply human, ironically, for all the tech involved. It's about taking ownership of the one experience we all share.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a thought, a question to chew on. We've talked about AI simulating personalities forever. We've talked about your body becoming a cubic yard of soil to grow an oak tree.
The question is, in a world where your digital self can talk forever and your physical self becomes a forest, what does rest in peace actually mean in 2026?
Are we moving toward a future where we never truly leave? Or one where we return to the earth more completely than ever before?
Or somehow, both at the same time? It's something to think about.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us on the Funeral Channel.